destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and welcome to one of Canada's longest running podcasts. As we move into the month of June, we celebrate Indigenous History Month, which means I am stupid busy almost every day of every week this month, but that's okay. Also, happy Pride to all of our friends in the LGBTQ plus community. We see you, we value you. I actually posted a really cool picture on Facebook that taught me all the words in Ojibwe, what the pride colors mean. I can't even begin to pronounce these, but I did post it on my social media. So if you want to learn a little bit of Indigenous language, go check out @BirdmanDod on Twitter. But I'm not alone as I travel through the mysteries of podcasting universal multiverse travel. I'm joined by the man in the chair from the city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer. I'm here in the flesh. We are recording an actual regular show together before the deluge.
Oh my God. Yeah, I forgot. Like, June for us turns into stupid busy from video game coverage, which I've slowly kind of drifted out to be a more casual. Still what happens in the industry. And last month, there just wasn't a lot that was happening that we really wanted to talk about, and that wasn't super friggin' depressing.
We made a conscious effort, especially not just at the beginning of the pandemic. Remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, we made an effort not to talk about those who died because of the doom and gloom of the Armageddon that was happening. And then we made a conscious effort to not, like 2021, around that time period, we were like, hey, let's not do news that is overly depressing. We can do news that's sad but funny, or sometimes, gallows humor a little bit. But we tried not to do things like everybody is so doom and gloom. So if there wasn't going to be regular news, we were going to skip it and maybe do a review show instead.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to have a more positive influence on the podcasting media space. And it's just something I have no interest in being sad about stuff all the time. It's not that we don't acknowledge when bad things happen in the world. This is just much more engaging conversation.
We don't want the parapsychological relationships people have with just drama for the sake of drama. That's not what I mean, I'm getting close to my 40s. You're in your 40s. We got Ken, who's the pup, coming up. But most of us are in our late 30s or early 40s. We're not at a point anymore where we want that. We don't need that heat.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want that heat. We'd rather project much more positive energy out there.
100%. So we have a interesting show for you this week. Alex has done some pre-recording of the news to kind of give you a preview of the content we're going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Here, especially when it comes to the video game industry. Alex is our video game industry expert right now, so we'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Free RPG Day as sort of a preview for my Patreon. They'll be launching in just a couple of weeks, but I'm going to be talking about some lesser known games and some companies I don't get a chance to talk about, some lines I don't get a chance to talk about. I know in this show I'm going to be talking about one of the games from Mana Project Studios. We're going to be taking a look at the Cowboy Bebop RPG, which was released.
Cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting system, but I do have some thoughts on it. So definitely put your woolongs on the table, and we'll have ourselves a bet there.
Where I've slotted myself in to be more of the digital video game expert of the group, you've gone back into your natural resting place of Mr. Library book learning RPG.
Yeah, exactly. I
You
have become
become
that wise old sage now.
you become the librarian, and I've become the digital custodian, basically.
Yeah, I'd say that's actually probably pretty accurate, all things considered. So one of the things we often do off the top of the show is we talk about what we've been doing in our personal lives over the last week or so. So it has been a busy little while since we had a chance to kind of communicate with each other as to what we've been up to, and I've had some pretty interesting things happen. I recently started attending once again. The Guelph Royals have been graciously asked me to attend their upcoming season here in the Royal City. I love baseball. I forgot how much fun that was to be around community, to see people excited. There's a guy out there, Alex, who brought a cockatiel. So he is emotional support
Awesome.
bird, I guess. It was really interesting. Friendly fellow. It was a lot of fun. My friend Paul, who's my dungeon master in my game that I play with a couple friends of
I
mine on Monday,
I do like
came
that
out.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do like that you make sure you preface it and explain that he's your dungeon master in the games you play, not necessarily in some
In
other aspect of
other
your life.
manners, yes, exactly.
Nothing wrong with that, obviously. You do you, but it is funny every time you mention it. You always say my dungeon master in the games I'm playing.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and yeah, we're also celebrating my sister-in-law Kara's birthday, which was really cool. So she came out, Mama Henry came out. The gift that I gave to her, and she asked for. She wanted a copy of my new Indigenous book of poetry, which you can purchase on our website right now. Check it. Check the episode post, which is really cool. I'm actually doing a media tour for that, hopefully fairly soon. If you go to my website, mikeashkwy.com, which I updated recently, there was an article in the Guelph Mercury Tribune, talking about the contributions of that. In fact, I haven't heard back, but I did send this in. I was speaking with a producer at APTN. My stuff might be on APTN sometime this month. So I'm just
That's
waiting.
neat.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear back whenever that's going to happen. So as soon as I hear back, I will send Alex a note. We'll post it up on social media and you
And
will hear about that.
if it ends up being talked about on their show, I know that they post all their news right on YouTube. You can watch the whole shows there. So we'll have to make sure we got a copy of that and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And then also, I've also been working on some other additional content. I recently made contact with the with some gentlemen over at Free RPG Day. They sent me a huge whack of stuff. I'm going to be posting some of that on social media over the next day
Oh,
or so.
from the team that puts together the event.
Yeah. Oh my God, Alice. This box weighed like 20 pounds.
Oh wow.
Seriously, you need to be going to freerpgday.com. Find out if your local game store is contributing. There is tons of cool stuff out there. There's a lot of really neat kind of giveaways from
There's
companies like Paizo, Renegade Game Studio, all these indie publishers. Dungeons and Dragons Wizards is giving away some really cool minis and stuff. There is so
I'll
much
have to
good stuff.
look because my mom, like the plaza that's right around the corner from her, that's like 2 minutes away where she goes to get basically you can get anything there. That's like the it's like a
The hub.
little yeah, it's one of those old school like 1950s style, probably built in the 50s strip malls, the really small ones where they always had like a little bank and then a little this and well, there's a Warhammer shop there, and that's where I found a couple random books for you because it's Warhammer and then like 10% you know random used books, and then
Mhm.
like it's like D&D, Paizo, Warhammer's 90% of it, and then there's some other stuff. I'm gonna look and see if they're listed. I think it's there was I forget the name of that one. There was another one called Phoenix, unless that's the Phoenix one. There's about two or three of them in town. Like, obviously some comic stores carry stuff and some stores, but we don't. I don't know if we have a dedicated RPG store, but we do have a few dedicated Warhammer stores. So I
Yeah,
would assume
so
that they would have something involved because Warhammer's also got the tabletop or the book game as well, right? So
yeah, I think that's published by Cubicle 7. I think they do, which I'll be looking at
yeah,
some stuff from Cubicle 7 later in the month for their Doctor Who role-playing game, as well as their Doctors and
and
Daleks, which ties perfectly into the new Doctor Who series, which is now airing on Disney Plus as well.
yes, and when is Free RPG Day?
Free RPG Day is June 22nd, so that'll be the Saturday
All right.
right
On.
after Indigenous History Month Day. So I will be talking about both of those days. And if everything goes the way that I want it to, and it's looking pretty good right now, I should be launching my Patreon, which will be Fox's Tales of Adventure, where I'll be providing content. You can hire me to be your dungeon master, and I should be providing services on Start Playing Games as well. And I will be starting out a 6-month promo price where you can bring me out as your DM. I have already run a couple games already, and it'll be nice to join the tabletop space. And if everything works out right, I finish my project for Modifius this month, which that's been a long time coming, but I'll be glad just to see it done, all things
Oh
considered.
yeah. It's one of those things where if you don't stop now, you could keep writing forever and ever and ever. You got to give yourself an end date.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, I just want this off my desk. I have dealt with this forever, but in a good way.
the the
I'm just hoping to
true
move on.
the true artist dilemma, is it good enough yet?
Yeah,
Has,
exactly. I'm
has,
thinking,
has any artist in their life ever said, this is perfect?
yeah, exactly. So other than that though, it's been fun go out there. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go. I've been doing a lot of stuff in the accessibility community recently. I recently delegated to Guelph City Council in favor of online voting. I was one of 13 delegates, which was really fun. The city of Guelph has provisionally approved it for the next election in 2026. Big thanks to the Accessibility Advisory Committee and Chair Lorelei Root for really being the champion behind that cause. And yeah, it's been really, really, really busy. I'm actually going to be speaking to a local school board about Indigenous history and accessibility. I'll be speaking to very young kids this time, so that's going to be a change. And then finally, for me, I just got a date cemented in. I'm going to be talking about indigeneity and volunteering at a conference in Toronto in July. So I'm really looking forward to doing that because I love my community. I love giving back to making it the best it can be in every possible facet and just doing it because it feels nice. It feels good. I like seeing everybody uplifted in the most positive way possible. So that is what I've been up to. Alex, what about you, my friend?
Well, since last we had a regular episode, had a bit of a dilemma with figuring out some disability funding. Like, hey, being told 3 days before rent was going to go out that, hey, you're not going to have rent because we just decided to put your file on hold, and me rushing up to the office to go, hey, I exist. I'm still disabled, by the way, people. And then for them just to go, oh, yeah, you don't have a caseworker anymore because 5 people have left and we haven't had anybody else. So you're one of 2,500 people without a caseworker. So it sort of floats around and it put you on hold until somebody could take a look at you. And I'm like, what? And they said, don't worry, click. You're off hold. You're good. I'm like, well, what about having a caseworker? Well, we'll find out in a few months when people are hired.
Oh,
That's
God.
that's I am not a political person on here. That is the state that the current provincial government has put us in. They are hiring people, but they so many people left because of burnout, because of what happened during COVID, trying to help people. And they do genuinely try to help people, right? That they've had a hard time getting people. Now apparently they've hired, when I was there were 3 interns learning new stuff. And they might be taking over. And I was looking at them and was like, remember my face. One of you is going to remember my face and you're going to be my caseworker. I'm an easy person to work with, but one of you better stay on. But in doing that, I ended up rushing out and I ended up tweaking my knee real freaking bad. So I basically was laid up for like the better part of a week. And then I ended up visiting family, went to my mom's, and just for a few days just to sort of hang out, give her company, and um, do some cat sitting because she decided she wanted to take a trip to Niagara Falls, do one of those day trips where you pay $20, you take a bus, and then they take you to the casino and you get like a free lunch sort of thing. And she's like, can you come over and take care of the cat? And I said, does that mean I get to go into an air conditioned building and I just basically have to stay here and watch the cat and feed the cat? And she's like, yes. And I went, yes, that is good. So I went and did that. And then beyond that, I've just been planning and getting things ready for all of our non E3 slash we're probably still going to call it E3 season forever. Summer Game Fest, until everything gets under the one banner, it's probably still going to be called E3 season, right?
Mhm.
So I've been getting prepped for all of that. And then beyond that, it's just been pretty much straightforward. I've been doing some of the podcasting stuff on the back end. I should mention, as of this recording, it's already been out. Episode 200 of Earth vs. Soup. Aaron and Darlene. It's been a while in the making, in that I've had it ready to go for a while, but I was trying to figure out what should I do for the occasion. For their 100th episode, as when I gave them custom podcast pod art, and then made a new intro for them, basing it on the old one that we used to have, which used to be just an offshoot of the Future Imperfect one. And I gave them, with monster intros and stuff and clips from the different movies. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was scratching my head, because 200, that's a pretty big milestone. Like, we're podcast veterans where we put out, a crap ton, but very few people ever hit 200 episodes of their hobby podcast, and they did. So I was like, this is great. So I did a slight alteration of the pod art, a slightly different color scheme, but I wanted to make sure that everything was going to stay noticeable, like you'd know what it was when you're scrolling through our stuff. So it's tinted from the orange theme to a greenish otherworldly theme now, but similar artwork, and then a little fancy stuff around the border to make it look like an aged film sort of thing. Kind of neat. And then instead of replacing the audio intro entirely, which I really ended up liking in the first place, I've added some more clips from some of the movies that they've covered and some that might be covered soon. So instead of like a 25-second or 30-second intro, it's got a full minute intro now with cool clips and some overlays. And I made sure I put them in a funny order that they would be interesting to listen to. So you're not going to get bored of listening to it, and you're not going to want to fast forward every time. That's my goal. Don't want to skip the intro. Have fun with the intro. So that's out. Celebrating that. I will mention this. I was recently sent episode 300. So I have 96 more episodes to edit.
Good times.
They are podcasting machines, right? So
They
we
efficient.
there are like and they're all timely, because they're evergreen episodes. There's nothing like, it's all classic movies, right? So you're gonna have at least another couple years worth to listen to. And honestly, it's been a blast listening how they started, not knowing necessarily how to podcast, and they've gotten more comfortable. So it's kind of like you get to grow with them as you're going along.
100%. And I know just recently we released some new episodes of Botched Roll. I know recently we just released an episode on trying something new, where basically maybe you've been playing the same character class. Maybe you want to play a druid. Maybe you want to play a monk. Maybe you want to play a decker, rigger, shaman, whatever. I tell you, be more than a stat block. You might be pleased by the results. I do have some new stuff coming up that I'll talk about in the extra of the show. But before we go anywhere, we're going to take a break here on This Week in Geek as we dive into Alex's news that he was able to gather from the latest game showcase. But we're going to listen to one of Alex's reviews right now. And when we come back after the news segment, we'll come back into another review, and then we'll talk about the weird news that happened around the planet this past week. So let's dive right into one of Alex's reviews. We'll be back here right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex the producer. Take it away, Mike, my compatriot.
Alex here with just a little quickie review of Athenian Rhapsody. This is an indie title that I reached out to the publisher of and said, hey, can we take a look at this? And they said, hey, yes, sure, go ahead. So I received a review copy, and it is similar in style to Earthbound, other games of that ilk, if that makes any sense. You are going around... okay, it's Earthbound meets Undertale, but in some senses a little harder. It's one of those games where the goal is to not... It's an RPG. The goal is to not get too much experience, because that makes the later parts of the game harder. I don't want to spoil anything, but it is more conducive to a good experience to befriend every enemy that you encounter, and then it's sort of like a Pokedex type thing. You end up collecting monster friendships that then can go unlock extra bonuses for you. There's side quests and little side characters that you can befriend that become party members you can call to battle. All the while you're going screen by screen, almost like a Game Boy game, almost like Link's Awakening. So it's an amalgamation of a lot of these games. It's pretty well programmed and put together. It's much harder than I was expecting. It also happens to have a few options to make it a little easier, in that you can turn on an easier mode that makes it so that when you're attacked in the battle defense, because when you're defending from your turn, it's very much like Undertale, where you're dodging bullets and stuff. It makes it so that when you're hit, there's a certain amount of time where you're invulnerable in between hits, and that helps a little bit. It doesn't help that there's some pretty massive difficulty spikes at bosses, to the point where sometimes it can feel frustrating, like you can't make it through. And there is going to be a barrier of entry for that, because there's a bit of a balance issue that I've found, where the enemies in the area will be very easy to dodge or very easy to befriend, and you'll hit a boss and you hit a wall, and it's not necessarily a very fun wall. So if you can get the game for dirt cheap, it's worth checking out. And it's a very inventive, cute art style. There's some good jokes in there. It just feels like it's not polished quite enough yet. Maybe down the line there'll be some patches, something to add, maybe ways around or making things a little easier. I'm not saying every game has to be easy, obviously. I'm saying that there's a disparity in how high the spikes go to difficulty. If it was all a steady incline, it would be fine. It's just not quite there. So if you're interested in it, but maybe on the fence, check out a couple of videos on YouTube about it. If you can get it, on sale or dirt cheap, or this is everything I've said is, resonated with you, then obviously check it out, because I like seeing more indie games that are inspired by some of the more popular indie titles that have come out the last couple of years, and some classics, but put their own spin on it.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
It's time for the Twig news. Well, no. It's not the Twig news right now. No, this is actually a mini prototype. We could have recorded and put separately, but instead we're putting it as the news, because this is sort of a tease. I'm Alex, the producer here, getting ready for our Summer Game Fest 2024 coverage, /E3, /not E3, /trailer preview, massive coverage time period that we're getting ready for in the next couple of weeks. Generally, every year, it's kicked off either by something like Bit Summit or some other indie showcase. Sometimes it's Dragon Quest. And a lot of the time lately, it's been the Japanese Indie Showcase or Indie Expo Live. I can't remember the exact name of it. I'll have a link in the description. But in past years, it had been 2 or 3 days where I had to watch several hours of gameplay to get through. This year, it was one show, 4 a.m. my time. So I woke up to an alarm that I forgot I had set, and it was a 5-hour showcase. Well, it's a little better. It sounds crazy, but I had done 8 hours in the past before on 2 or 3 days. So it was nice that it was all sort of contained into one. 160 trailers plus gameplay extended periods in between, because a lot of the trailers were like 15 seconds a piece. So I watched it all, so you don't have to watch them. And I was able to pare them all down to roughly, I'd say it's like just shy of 20, maybe, that I would say are essential, or ones that are close to being essential, in that everybody that listens to our programming would probably be interested in them. I'm not trying to downplay some of the trailers. It's just I didn't keep anything in that was only in Japanese and didn't appear to probably be getting an English translation or other multilingual translation. B, things that were really janky looking that I don't think people would be interested in. If that's your thing, you can seek out the whole showcase and watch it all for yourself. So, because of that, I always try to curate them all. And I thought we usually do like a day 0 of the Summer Game Fest /E3 where we would cover, the Japanese thing to kick it off, and then maybe do a bit of a preview on what's coming up programming wise for us for the prototype with all of our Summer Game Fest coverage. Well, now we figured, hey, we'll do a mini-sode because it wasn't as much. I was able to compress everything down, and we'll do it as a regular news show, and we'll put it in here just as we're inching away from the May, doldrum of not having as much news into the crazy news period that always happens the first, second, and third week of June. So, what exactly did they show? Well, one, they had some slightly different hosts than I remember last time. They had similar English hosts. I will mention this. They had a lot more English narration on all the trailers, not just from the people that were translating on the fly, but actual English narration, even I think in the Japanese versions, or they at least prepared a lot more ahead of time, which is a big boon. And a lot of the games, even in the Japanese streams, had English text shown because they're trying to think a little more globally, which is, always good, and it's fun for us. I mean, there's probably going to be some people in Japan that complain about that, but it's still much, much, better than what I've done in the past where I've had to really track things down. So I'll give a list of what I saw that I thought was the most interesting things. Some of these have already been released on Steam, or they have a demo on Steam in English, or they were maybe early access and they're getting an update or major. Some of these are new to Japan only, but they were released here slightly before. There might be one or two of them in there like that, but for the most part, I tried to keep it so that it's things that are new or might likely be new to you. So the titles, whittled down 5 hours down to about 7 minutes trailers, there's a game called The Detective Reaper Invites. And it is a roguelike mystery game where if you die, it resets the mystery and you got to start over. Interesting premise. I'm going to sort of go through these rapid fire because I have curated all the trailers from them, mashed them together into one 7-minute video that I've put up on our YouTube channel that I will put a link in the description of the show for. So if you want to go watch those trailers, these are the ones I've been talking about. And it'll be up there forever and ever so you can check them out. And just, it's a lot easier than trying to track them all down yourself because some of these many of these do not have a regular trailer yet. Or if they do, they're literally just a trailer without any narration over it, or it's in Japanese. So these at least have the basic descriptions of them when you watch them. Another game called The Star Named Eos, and this is a sort of cozy kind of game where you're taking pictures of the surroundings and you're finding secrets and stuff and trying to uncover mysteries and stuff. Fun little looking game. There is Paper Ghost Stories Third Eye Open. This is a game where it looks like you're controlling a paper diorama and with a camera angle behind it, walking through 3D, like if somebody made their own cardboard sculptures and you're playing through that. Neat. Kind of creepy looking. These are my little notes here. All in Abyss, Judge the Fake. That one was... I think that was a weird sort of card hybrid game. I may be wrong because there were so many I watched at once. But again, in the trailer collection that I put there. Tokyo Coffee Grinding in the Pandemic. Yes, that's the title. And yes, it's exactly what you think. It's a cozy bartending game where you're learning to make different types of brewing types of coffee as a barista and learning about what was happening in Tokyo during the pandemic. Interesting premise. Weird, quirky. That's why I added it there. It might be something you want to check out. Gas Station Story. What if you had an Intellivision or Atari-looking game, graphics-wise, but 8-bit style, like somewhere between an Atari and an NES, and it is an RPG. Neat. There is Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. Don't know if Degenerate Gamblers is going to be a title that they use in the West. It probably is. It's not the wisest choice, but still, it is a card-based roguelike deck builder fun game. A lot of games this year that I saw that were good were based on Balatro or other card-based games, and they're sort of jumping on that because now that's all, the new hotness. Not a lot of gacha games, which is good. Not a lot, no NFT stuff. Very few advertisements for weird, coin mining games or anything. A lot more of a focus on either simple multiplayer that doesn't require a subscription or gotcha stuff or local single-player games. It's nice to see that trend at least going that way with indies in Japan. Also, very little to do with Xbox. They were a sponsor ID at Xbox, but you can see that they're not doing well in that market, at least right now. A lot of stuff was advertised, mostly Steam, but things like talking about how it will work on the ROG Ally. What else? The Steam Deck, and then other portables that way. A lot of stuff for PS5, for Switch, a little bit for itch.io to download. Some Epic Game Store sponsored games. Almost nothing for Xbox, except if it was already coming to all platforms anyway. Moving on. Was it Cricket something or other? There's an RPG, peculiar RPG. Monowave. Monowave is a very cool art style. It almost looks like vector graphics, and you're playing through the manifestations of emotions. Fun little looking game, very quirky, looks neat. Mousebusters. That is what you'd think. You play as two different mice that are like Ghostbusters, stopping ghosts or alien looking things from terrorizing a house. And it's all done in like Game Boy Advanced graphic style. There is Wish Upon a Llama, which is a slice of life farming breeding game with tons of different cutesy graphics. Looks fun. Looks better than a lot of the other ones that have come out from that genre and style. Seiko Giantess Dating Sim, a weird art style dating sim where you're a little person dating a giant. Interesting. There is Stray Path, which is a card game, card game with RPG elements. There is Kato, which is a game where it's a combining of cat and toast, where you play as a cat that has a toast strapped to its back, like that meme that appeared years ago on the internet, whereas a cat always lands on its feet and a toast always lands butter side down. And you have to solve puzzles that defy gravity, where you're like jumping and spinning onto the ceiling and using the toast to load up things and unlock doors. It looks really neat and cute. There was Godzilla Voxel Wars, which is Final Fantasy Tactics, but with a board grid and everything, but it's voxel kaiju battles, but in the style of any major tactics RPG, which is kind of amazing. The other games were Isles of Sea and Sky. That one I believe is already out in the West, but it's having a major update putting out. That is sort of like a Zelda puzzler, somewhere between Neo Geo Pocket Color graphics and GBA or GB Color graphics. The Siege and Sand Fox, that is a Metroidvania that looks really good with pixel art design. Mira and the Legend of the Djinns, which is another Metroidvania platformer with really smooth and slick art design. And then finally, Smack Studio. Oh wait, there might be another two, but they'll be in the trailer. But Smack Studio, which is, it's almost like an RPG Maker or Fighter Maker game where you design your own characters with a very robust editor, movesets, even design your own levels, but then it plays like a brawler, like a Smash Brothers. Very cool stuff, and it doesn't look too difficult or of a learning curve to get into. So a lot of interesting stuff there. That was sort of the highlights of the show. I was pretty tired. I took a nap after watching it and compiling it. So please, if you get a chance, watch it on YouTube. Let us know what you think. I'll probably do some more curated things like that of some of the trailers, especially for indie titles coming up in the future. Now, as far as programming goes, we have our regular programming with our shows. We're going to be doing, our regular review shows, and I still have to work on a bunch of other stuff. But as far as, in particular, the prototype coverage, the schedule is pretty much out now for Summer Game Fest. It starts on a Friday. Then we have programming on the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We don't know yet necessarily about Sony. That might already be ready as of the time that this is out. But so Sony might be before Summer Game Fest. If that's the case, we'll have an episode of that out talking about whatever they show there. Nintendo hasn't announced a date, but the talk is they might go after the Monday. So, regardless, the idea is to get things out as fast as possible. We're planning on watching the showcases, and then the following morning we'll be up to record. Ken and I are going to do a bunch of them together of the previous day stuff and summarize them. And then once we finish, we'll release it right away so that I can then watch and make notes for the current day's conferences and showcases. And then once all of it's done, we will, that following week, I believe, either then or maybe in place of, we'll see the main show. We're going to have Birdman, when he's available, watch all the curated stuff that we put together of all the highlights that he'll need to watch, and then we can do a larger roundtable discussion. So it'll be shorter episodes of the day-to-day stuff with links to the trailers and collections of packs of trailers for us to look at, and then a larger discussion of how we see the rest of the year and maybe potentially the following year shaping up to be. So that's similar to what we've done in the past. It's just a little more organized this year because things are back to being a little more cramped together like they used to be. The only major studios or publishers that aren't taking part, as far as we know, that aren't like doing their own or haven't announced that they're going to be a part of Summer Game Fest or some of the other people's platforms, is we know THQ/Embracer Group. They've moved their stuff to August because it's closer to Gamescom, and they've had, turmoil there with their own studios. And then a lot of the Japanese studios didn't announce anything in particular because they're going to be participating in all of the other showcases. I guess EA is the only EA and Take-Two/2K are the only big ones that aren't doing their own individual showcases, and expect a lot of their stuff to just be peppered in with everybody else's. Ubisoft is happening on the Monday, I believe, after Microsoft's, and then we're figuring out what's going on with Sony and Nintendo as of this recording. So it's all going to be cramped into the second weekend of June, and we'll be sending out all of our show notifications with everybody as we release them. For each individual day's stuff, I will have curated all of the good trailers, or what we determined to be good trailers that we talked about, and I'll make a compilation highlights video that will be released either just before or at the same time as when the audio podcast goes out, so that when you're listening, you can click on the link in the show description and go right to the video so you can see exactly what we were talking about and maybe check them out. There won't be individual links for everything to pre-order or anything because that's crazy, but there will be at least a centralized place where you can go, hey, these are what the guys are talking about, and maybe this is something I want to check out, because just hearing about it only goes so far, and there's so much happening over the course of those 2 or 3 weeks leading into the middle of summer, that people are busy. They don't have the time to do it. For us, it's like a hobby, it's like a job. We like curating all this stuff, and if you end up finding out, maybe watching it and going, hey, there's actually stuff you didn't put in that I liked, let us know, because we try to base it on the taste that we have. We have our own personal biases of what we like, we don't. I try my best to go, okay, something is good. Even if I don't like it myself, I'm like, this is going to be something important people want to see and people want to talk about. So I'll do my best to include them all. If there's something really, really, egregious that you think we didn't include, let us know, and we'll try to make sure we make a note of going, okay, well, that's something in the future maybe we should talk about. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this mini prototype episode, filling in for what would regularly be our news. As we've talked for many weeks, it's mostly been bad news lately, or nothing, substantial. So this was a little mini taste, episode 0 of Summer Game Fest, if that makes any sense. We've done those in the past, but it wasn't quite long enough to be considered a full half-hour episode on its own. So you get a little bite-sized, little taste, a little aperitif for what's to come. So I guess we're going to go to one of our reviews. I'm not sure if it's a Birdman review, an Alex review, or if it's a Ken review, but we'll be going to that, and then we'll be right back with the weird news right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Hi, amigos. You ready for some bounty info?
I'll take it.
It's showtime!
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and Free RPG Day is just a couple of weeks away on June 22nd, 2024, and I wanted to take a look at some new RPGs to me, and maybe some classic ones I haven't taken a look at in quite some time. And our first review we're going to be taking a look at today is a company that is new to me. This is Mana Project Studios' official release of the Cowboy Bebop RPG. These guys sent over to us the main book, the Game Master screen, or the Big Shot screen, as well as the official dice for this project. There are some other accessories you can find out over at their website. So I've been a fan of Cowboy Bebop since I was a child. It was one of the first anime series I ever remember seeing. first anime soundtrack I bought right after Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it took me by utter surprise. I'd never seen a dub done so well. It's still one of my most cherished animes to this very day. I was even a fan of the Netflix series. I think John Cho is a wicked Spike Spiegel, and I thought the casting in that, outside of Vicious, was actually pretty good. So I love the Cowboy Bebop IP, and there have been other series that have tried to emulate that space fantasy western, most notably Firefly/Serenity, and there have been various RPGs that have tried to do the Cowboy Bebop thing, though not exactly with the license or with the serial numbers filed off. So Mana Project Studios got this RPG, and it does some interesting things with it. And some stuff I really like, some stuff I really don't. But let me get into it. So you have what are called sessions, and that's what episodes in the anime were called. And then those sessions are split into tabs. So there's the Geist session, which is grab everybody and their stuff together, and then 3, 2, 1, which is sort of the more action-y phase of what's kind of going on. And then finally you have Let's Jam, and then each of those sessions adds stuff to your dice pool, which is only ever D6s, which is really nice. It's simplistic in that manner. Then you have different approaches that you can take. There's rock, dance, tango, jazz, and blues. And then there's like how it ties to your traits and stuff like that. You get shocks and hits. And I'm throwing a lot of terminology at you, and that's something that this RPG does well in some ways. It really feels authentic to the experience, where it is kind of narrative, but it uses a lot of terms tied to the anime show, which again is great and really feels authentic to the world, but it can very much throw you off. And then you have clocks that count down to objectives. There's like a 4 o'clock, an 8 o'clock, and a 12 o'clock. I know I'm leaving out a lot of detail, but this is a book I had to like read through a couple of times to kind of get it. And even then, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to listen to an actual play to see how this works in practice. It's an interesting system. I will say that, like I said, its flavor is stronger than its crunch. Fluff-wise, I think this is actually kind of cool. Like, I really appreciate how it really leans into, you know, you are the big shot, aka the director, the game master, dungeon master, whatever. And then your BH, your bounty hunters are your characters, and you have to find out your bounty's secret before you can act on it in the adventure. And like I said, there's a lot of mechanical parts going on. In the book, they talk about how this was inspired by like Monster Hearts and Blades in the Dark, both of which I've never had a chance to play, so I'd be very curious to see how those function. But again, looking at this, it's mechanically very interesting. I will say that, and I do kind of appreciate the fact that it tries to really lean into its source material to give you an authentic Cowboy Bebop experience. The problem that I do find with this is I think if this was a more narrative-focused game, as opposed to trying to insert crunchy math in there where it doesn't really need to be in there, I think this would be a lot kind of better off if it was simplified. I mean, the rulebook's over 200 pages, and while learning the systems is only a fraction of that, it would be nice if there was just, I don't know, I guess maybe simpler examples of play. There are examples of play in the book. Maybe I just wish there was like a quick start rules or something, or I know you can get like the PDF and like other places, and it might be nice to be able just to search that on a computer, stuff like that, just to look up certain terms and you're immediately right there in the kind of thick of it. What I will say about this is, in terms of licensed RPGs, I like how it really embraces the source material. The game mechanics itself, not a huge particular fan of. If you got the right storyteller, DM, big shot, who really want to take the time to learn this, and if they're willing to sit with you and really learn what it takes to use the tango approach, the jazz approach, to really develop these sessions. And this is something that I really think a prospective game master is really going to have to think about prep to really make this an authentic Bebop experience. I think you could have something here kind of cool, but I really think there's a big commitment to everybody to learn the system. This is something that, would I call pick up and play? No. Would I call this something for a fun couple of shots over the course of a few weeks? Yeah, sure. I mean, this could be a fun summer thing, or, you know, shorter campaigns. I could see this being fun. And they actually talked about campaign structure where there's like your sessions, your seasonal break points, and your filler episodes, and actually kind of talk about, say, well, what if your friend Frank or your friend Jenny can't make it to the session? Well, you do a filler episode where everybody gets to push something forward, but not necessarily big, like, kind of plot elements where, like, I don't know, Spike remembers Julia, or, you know, something comes back to haunt Faye, or that sort of thing. But anyway, do I recommend the Cowboy Bebop official RPG? Well, for fans of the IP, I think it's a very interesting piece to add to your collection. In terms of a game, it is... They say it's simple. I disagree. I think some of the terminology kind of confuses what you're going to learn. Maybe that's my old age kind of seeping in. But I do see potential here. So I'm going to say maybe check this out through another source first. Maybe check out some other people who've done actual plays of this, see what you think. And if not, picking this up is pretty affordable if you wanted a physical copy. I gotta say this, the physical book looks great. It's got a lot of like scenes from the anime series. It feels really nice. There's like a built-in bookmark. I'm a big fan of the big shot screen. The dice are kind of cool. And you can get some other accessories with this too. So again, if you want to pick up the official Cowboy Bebop RPG from Mana Project Studios, it's cautiously, you may enjoy this. Definitely fans of the IP. For everybody else, maybe do a little bit more digging on your bounty before you completely commit those woolongs to this project.
I'm not a criminal. Whoa, that makes me sound more like a criminal.
It's complicated to be an outlaw nowadays.
Whoa.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
And welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. That was me you just heard talking about Mana Project Studios' Cowboy Bebop, the RPG. Like I said, your mileage may kind of vary with that game. I highly recommend you check it out on digital sources, but also take a listen to several actual play podcasts you can find on YouTube. Just type in Cowboy Bebop RPG, and I'm sure you'll find a couple. All right, guys, so we're going to talk about the strange and unusual things that have happened around the planet, on this plane of existence, on this material plane, right here, right now. But we're going to start things off on kind of a sad note as we mourn the loss of an internet icon. Kobusu, the dog behind the Doge internet meme, has died. Kobusu, the Shiba Inu whose quizzical expression stared in an array of Doge internet memes, has died, the owner said on Friday. That was on May 24th. A picture of Kobusu with a slight side-eye look went viral around 2013 on Tumblr and various online chat rooms before it became known as Doge, one of the most iconic and recognizable images on social media.
Is that the dog with the like
confused look?
Like with
yeah.
the what the heck is going on face?
Yep, that is the exact dog. So the dog's owner, Akasu Sato, 62, a kindergarten teacher from the city of Sakura in Chiba Prefecture, Japan, confirmed the news in a poignant poem on her blog on Friday. At 7:50 a.m., I fell into a deep sleep, she wrote. Sato said she would hold a farewell party for Kabu-chan on Sunday. She quietly passed away as if asleep while I caressed her, Sato wrote, according to a translation by the AFP news agency. I think Kabu-chan was the happiest dog in the world, and I was the happiest owner. Kabu's face has been featured in countless social posts and even became the face of a cryptocurrency. The non-fungible token, or NFT, of the image was sold in 2021 for $4 million. Dogecoin paid tribute to the dog on X, saying she was who was, quote, being who knew only happiness and limitless love. The image was shared online, often with colorful captions in the Comic Sans font expressing faux amazement, including usually wow, amaze, or broken English, such as so frost, much cold, intended seemed to be seen as the dog's internal monologue.
Or
People,
where it says, "Oh, heckin' good," that sort of stuff.
people would adapt the meme to comment on world events or pop culture news, or even to attack political rivals. In 2014, the Public Transport Authority in Stockholm, Sweden, launched an advertising campaign using the Doge meme with captions such as "such cheap, many summer," and "wow." So proud is Sakura of its famous canine mascot. The Doge image has been used on manhole covers, and a bronze statue of Kabusu was unveiled earlier this year and paid for by donations from fans from around the world. Sato told Japanese newspaper Ashiriari Sumibun in February that Kabusu was a rescue dog that was at one point being close to being put down. Kabusu's exact age is unclear, but Sato said in February she was 18. Quote, ever since Kabusu came into my house, a series of miraculous things have happened, enriching my life and gifting me a treasure trove of priceless moments, she told the paper. The famous image of her, sorry, my internet thing went stupid. Just give me a second to find where I was.
It's all good.
There we go. The famous image of
small rant.
Small. There we go.
Fucking websites.
Yeah,
where it's okay, we will never pay for ads or to get rid of ads on a site that puts ads on them. I will pay for a legitimate newspaper if I really wanted to. I will not pay for your site then making me scroll and then having it refresh the page with a million ads over and over again is not going to make me want to pay for it. It's going to make me not want to go to it.
Especially those ones that like autoplay a movie ad and there's audio to it. Those I hate. So anyway,
the cloud. At this point, we should just start paying like $10 a month or something for a news reader where it just goes straight to our phone in text only format.
Honestly, that would be kind of a nice thing. We should talk about that. So anyway,
that's an off-air thing because have you noticed it's been getting worse the last year?
Oh yeah, and as a guy who is the victim of online news agencies getting totally plowed by this, I get it. From a news perspective, but I get it from the reader perspective too.
Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy, exactly. Except for the ad people.
Exactly. So Sato told the Know Your Meme website in 2020 that there was nothing unusual about the picture. Quote, I take a lot of pictures every day, so the day was nothing out of the ordinary. It was nothing out of the ordinary. Kabusu loves having her photo taken, so she was delighted to have the camera pointed towards her, she told the site. She remained baffled by the internet fame her pet had attracted. Quote, I didn't know anything and I still don't really understand, she said. Kabusu was diagnosed with leukemia and liver disease in 2020. She told the AFP in a recent interview that the invisible power of prayers from the internet fans helped her pull through. Again, you think about the animals that we've lost. We've lost Doge now. We've lost Grumpy Cat. We've lost Little Bub.
What was the gentleman from Frasier?
Oh, Eddie. Yeah, there's so many famous animals.
Original Air
Harambe. Yeah.
Air Bud. And not to mention all of our personal ones, but it's still what this shows though is as silly as it was, the memory lives on forever, especially in these memes.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that there is a cryptocurrency called Dogecoin, yes, it's backed by stupid Elon, but whatever. It's kind of amazing to see
the internet
how
is
much
mostly forever. Even if people think that they're going to forget what that dog came from, there's going to be wiki articles everywhere forever about this dog.
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is, even though it's a sad thing, it's like the luckiest dog, one of the luckiest dogs ever.
Oh, yeah. And like I've seen plushies of this dog. I've seen t-shirts. I've seen stickers. There's so much cool stuff, and honestly, that's one of the first Shiba Inus I'd ever seen before was the Doge, and I would love to get a Shiba Inu if I can ever have a dog in my apartment, either that or a Corgi, just
Mine
because
was
I
not
want that look. I want.
my first experience was scrolling through and seeing a video, the video of how how they test the dog's temperature and how those dogs like to scream, like they're really loud
Oh,
screaming dogs, and it's doctor sticks his finger in its butt to check its temperature, and the dog screams like it's dying. Ah! And then immediately when the finger is pulled out, the dog just turns and is like, I'm happy, I'm normal. And then I look online, all the comments are, you're killing the dog. And then the comments are, no, Shibas are drama queens. And I was like, what's a Shiba? Oh, it's this dog. And then I got stuck with watching it was like Hachi, the dog that the famous Japanese dog that went to the owner's grave every day.
hmm
Where I remember he used to wait for him at like
the train station or
train
something.
station, and went for years and years and kept going even after the master had passed. It's like there's a certain amount of famous Shibas. I'm not saying the butt poke Shiba is famous. It's not. It's famous to me. But
There was,
this is one of probably two of the most famous Shibas ever, right? Like
yeah,
you have the traditional, one from the 19th or 20th century. You've got the Hachi, and then you've got, which I believe there's actually a pretty sweet, like sweet as in not like sweet as in awesome, like sweet as in like sentimental. I think there's a movie with Richard Gere starring in it about that dog.
I know there's another famous dog that I think's the same breed, where the dog is sleeping inside like a potted plant thing, and it's like M sleep, M plant, d- do not need water, bork bork,
Bork
or
bork
something.
do bork bork and plant something like
Yeah,
that.
like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, and again, it's amazing to see the power of animals. I mean, I know here on the show, Dr. Wiley was
the
our
mascot.
mascot for
Yeah.
years, and now Ayla, Beaker, and Dutch. I'd say Beaker and Dutch are slowly becoming known because I always have people ask me online what are
They're
their names.
they're more rambunctious. They're a little harder, like as an outsider, me when I come visit, they're a little harder to peg down in one spot unless they want to eat my headphones. Like,
Yeah, like they're definitely Blair's cats, whereas Ayla's definitely mine.
yeah, and Ayla for a while was an Uncle
All
Alex cat,
loving all over you.
and then magically a couple months went by, we didn't hang out, and I came back, and now she's not an Uncle Alex cat anymore. But
Yeah, and it's so weird, like how because
they
this
pick
was
their
during.
favorites.
Yeah, like they definitely attach, and like Beaker will basically strangle Blair by putting his paws on her jugular, and Dutch, when he chooses to love you, he really aggressively does. Like he likes to stick his head in Liam's armpits. It's really weird. Um it
Yeah,
is such a strange thing to watch.
if I was well, that's what Ayla used to do with me. I would
Mhm.
sit over and you'd be like, "What's she doing?" And she would hop up on me. First, her thing was run away, it's a stranger, and then she would come out and go, "Oh no, it's Alex." She would hop up because she's short. I had to like lean my legs out so she could climb up my legs, and then she would start licking my arm because she decided she had to groom me every single time I was there. And then how she would rest is she would shake her head and bury it like an ostrich into my armpit and just sit there and
Yeah,
fall
like
asleep.
animals are very strange. And when Beaker loves, he likes to come give me 5 a.m. snuggles. That's his thing. He'll come bunt me awake, ask to be petted for 2 or 3 minutes, and then he'll piss off. Dutch will come look at me, give him aggressive pets on his tail, and then he'll run away. Ayla will sleep on my side or on my desk. She sleeps on a little bed that my buddy Jordan put on my uh, bed desk. Ayla's looking at me right now, looking for pets. And Wiley, you guys know, would sit on my stump whenever we recorded
Yeah.
Twig or
And
whatever.
when I was over, his thing to do would be to crawl underneath my shirt, and he would relax under my shirt if it was cold out, and if it got hot out, then he would crawl out and just lay on his side on me.
Yeah, like it's amazing how much animals really do change your perspective, and having famous animals, like I said, Grumpy Cat, Little Bub, and they become celebrities in their own right, so much so that they travel. There was a dog I used to watch on YouTube, and I wish I could remember, but it was another Shiba Inu, and the owner was Chinese or Japanese, and they were living in Vancouver. and it was their experiences adapting to North America, learning the language, learning how to bring their kind of dog over. There was another skunk I used to watch on YouTube called Jasper, and that was a really fun animal. There's a rescue channel I watch called Save a Fox that I really
Oh,
enjoy.
I was gonna say my mom watches the fox one where the lady has all the foxes and they
Yeah.
rescue that from being hunted in the
Oh,
south.
I thought of another YouTube channel, and this was a moment that kind of broke my heart. I think it was called Tiny Kittens HQ, and it was older elder cat named Grandpa Mason. And Grandpa Mason was a feral cat, but he really took to kittens. And I remember these kittens really made Grandpa Mason's final years really, really good. And when a cat passed away, they would go to what was called on the YouTube channel, the Happy Tree Forest. And actually, I'm getting emotional only because
Yeah.
the last mm, the post was sad because Blair had read it to me, and it was Grandpa Mason is packing his tiny suitcase to go to the Happy Tree Forest, and
It's rough. We
it
form
is.
attachments in all, like I can mention, I'll talk for a little bit here. Uh, like I I love animals, and my mom's cat just does not want to warm up to anybody. She was like me when she first got her the first 6 months, and then after that she became a mama's cat. And we found out something though. I was very happy to find out she doesn't hate me. She hates everybody that isn't my mom, but tolerates me. And we found this out because if my dad were to come over, if my brother comes over, if she has company come over, uh, she will come out and see who's there if it's women. If it's men, she runs away. But if my brother or anybody wants to touch her, she will swat and hiss like full blown like cobra hiss. Like yet when I'm there, she doesn't run away. She looks grumpy. She looks at me. She's like, "Oh God, he's here. He's going to take up the spare room, which is where I like to go." And I'll go to pet her, and she'll sniff my fingers. And if I go to pet her head, then her ears will go back and her paw will go up. And she's only tried to nip me maybe once when she was very upset, but her paw goes up. And when she has swatted me, it's no claws out. And then she'll run away. Everybody else, she goes into like murder, death, kill mode. So my mom goes, "Oh, she tolerates you. She's like, oh, you're that annoying older brother of mine I don't want around." So I was like, but I'm like, "Love me. Here's some treats. Love me." No, I'm like, "No, damn it." But then sometimes she won't like to come. I stay in the basement when I'm over. Sometimes, and that's where usually she likes to go. She won't be there. But then sometimes I'll go to bed and I'll wake up in the morning, come upstairs, and she'll run out from behind me. And I realize that she doesn't like coming in the room when I'm there. But then sometimes I'll leave and she had been sleeping underneath the bed and thinking I wouldn't notice. It's like, I know you secretly like me. You just don't want
Yeah,
to admit it.
that's a sign of trust because I know certain animals will do that. Like, for example, Ayla tolerates Blair because she gives her treats. She'll give her kisses occasionally, but doesn't like to hang around her. And when you mentioned the women thing, I think Velvet likes Blair, does she not?
Used to Blair used to be able to put her inside of her sweater and zip her up. And when she tried to do that last time, hisses came out. And
Interesting. Yeah.
when she became a mature cat, she's a little more feral. And her brother, she was originally adopted with her brother to my brother. Like they bought two cats. And then she was getting too violent even as a kitten with him. And then, but because he was a bit of a suck. And then she didn't get along with my brother's dog.
Mhm.
Friendliest little girl puppy dog. Little I don't know what breed that is. It's a little white dog. Not like the one from the Caesar's food, but like if you see its face, it's one of those dogs that has hair, and
Yeah.
not fur, and she's got floppy ears. She's not a terrier. She's one of them sorts of things. Whatever it is, I don't remember what it is.
Like a
Um,
Lopso Opso or something.
it's a little. If you see the picture, you're like, oh my god, I know that dog. It's the same dog from that Rick and Morty episode where they took its balls.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
I forget
Snowball.
the
Yeah.
breed. Yeah, Snowball. Um, And that dog is the friendliest. That dog is the dog version of Wiley.
Oh,
And
where it just loves everybody.
apparently she'll run away if she doesn't know you when you come over. And every time, I don't see her that often, but when I do see her, because she goes between my brother's place and then his wife's parents' place, because originally it was the parents' dogs. But when they'll bring her by sometimes to my mom's for a barbecue, or a few times I've gone over to their place and they have her, and he's like, I don't know if she's gonna remember you. I was like, don't pull that with me. She loves me. They'll open the door. I'll hear one little tiny burp, like a little bark, and I'll be like, who's that? And then this little dog that's like 6 inches off the ground will find a way to leap about 5 feet into the air into my arms. And it's just loving and kisses the whole time. Super friendly. And then his cat is a fraidy cat. He's a beautiful cat. He could be a model. I've shown you pictures, right? He's like a very photogenic cat. He is so afraid of everybody. And it's such how diametrically opposed the personalities of him and his little sister cat were. So that's why they ended up giving the cat to mom, and she ends up being a big mommy's girl. And like, talk about routines. She wakes mom up at 5 a.m, begs for things. She gets to go outside, but only on a leash, and she'll behave for that. But if I try to go put her on a leash, oh my God, I would be torn to shreds. So it's funny how every cat has their own personality, and yet we still end up loving them anyway.
Yeah, it's true. So rest in peace, Doge Dog.
Yeah.
You brought a lot of people's lives happiness. And like I said, sorry for having that mini breakdown on air.
This is why it affects us. These things affect us. And even for the millions of people that will never know this story, they're going to be laughing and joking and chuckling along with the pictures probably for the next 50, 100 years.
Yeah, that dog will outlive many of us. So our next story is also dog related, but a little happier. So this story comes courtesy of cbc.ca. A rotisserie mystery. Yukoner's dog finds pile of cooked chickens dumped in the woods. Who would dump 40 rotisserie chickens in the Yukon woods? That's the question on Ibex Valley's woman on an Ibex Valley woman is asking her dog Aussie sniffed out what many canines would be considered a mother lode of tasty treats. Linda Lammers was out for a walk with Aussie when the dog caught the scent and found more than 40 rotisserie chickens dumped in a heap in the woods. There was also some side servings of chicken fingers and french fries. It may have been a dream come true for the dog, but less than ideal for Lammers. I just want to know why. Lammers said it was a big, smelly bunch of cooked chicken, also concerning where the food was left. They weren't in the ditch, Lammers said. They would have to have been dragged out there intentionally. The discarded food was just 500 meters away from homes, including Lammers' property. That's a massive attraction, said Lammers. I don't even have birdseed out at this time of year because I'm worried that's going to attract bears. Yukon Conservation Officer Nick Hogan admits the cooked chicken is not something we typically find. Yukoners are usually pretty good about disposing of their waste legally, he said. It's never good to find that kind of stuff, especially this time of year with not a lot of food available for animals right now. So yeah, that's not great to find. Hogan said a lot of animals are searching for food at this time of year, including bears, foxes, and coyotes. Not only is the wasted food a dangerous wildlife attractant, it's also against the law. It does come with a littering fine, said Hogan. Fine start at $500, but can quickly grow as if this case, the chicken and fries do attract wildlife. The animals become a nuisance. Lammer says she was fortunate no wildlife had been attracted to her residence or other neighbors' homes since the food was dumped, and conservation officers have now removed the waste from the area. Quote, we haven't seen any bears. Our dog is fine, said Lammers. We do have to keep a close eye on him now because there's a strong appeal for him to go running over there now. Anyone with information about the unusual case of littering is asked to contact Environment Yukon. I remember we covered a story last year where someone dumped a bunch of spaghetti in the New Jersey woods just because.
And I think I'm going to say probably, I'm not going to look it up, but it's probably going to be the same response I had to that. I think this is a concerted effort to give back to the forest for all the free porn.
Oh God, I knew this was coming. See, I would wonder now.
You
40
have to pay a
cooked.
tithe. You have to pay a tithe to the spirits. You know all about the forest spirits, the forest porn spirits. The forest giveth, and then the forest taketh.
Okay, speaking of forests, so funny sidebar. So I like to go back on the trails in my wheelchair, and occasionally I text Blair when I'm going somewhere. And she wanted me to run the Walmart to go run some errand because I'm a good husband. And I said to her, and I didn't think about the phrasing of my sentence. So I'm talking with Siri, and I'm like, I'm not going to say it because then it'll go off. But I was like,
Yeah.
I have emerged from the forest. I'm going to Walmart. And I get home like 45 minutes, an hour later, and she looks at me like, you've emerged from the forest. And I'm like, oh, that does sound kind of ominous, doesn't it? And
You
it,
were
over the
you're paying your respects for all the years of forest porn. That's what you had to do.
Although it's so weird now. Again, sidebar, I've kind of talked about this on social media, but I haven't told it on the show yet. So I'm slowly becoming a Disney princess right now.
Yes, you
And
are.
so animals literally follow me now. Like I've told the story before how squirrels and chipmunks follow me when I go down to Riverside Park, which is the local park near my house. Now they're starting to follow me everywhere in Guelph. So excuse me. So I was up at the university doing some accessibility thing the other day, and this black squirrel who doesn't know me walked right up to my chair, looked right up, and just put his paws out as if to say, I know you've got food, kid. So I'm sitting there talking with these reps from the university. I throw out some hazelnuts, and the squirrel's just hanging out with me. Okay, you have your meeting. You fed me. Let's just hang out together. And then the following day, I went to go meet my indigenous grandmother, my Nokomis, and we're sharing some teachings back and forth. And again, all these animals start following me and coming up to me. And this little chipmunk, no bigger than the palm of my hand, comes right up to my wheelchair footboard and just has breakfast with me and my Nokomis while we're just sharing a conversation. And she looks at me and goes, you weren't kidding when you said animals follow you. And earlier this week, I'd seen a fox from
And
like
and we're not saying it's not ravens and crows and vultures.
no,
They're
ravens have breakfast with me. That's
they're-
another thing.
Okay, ravens may have breakfast, but crows and vultures aren't circling you. They're not smelling grisly death on you. These are nice, happy Snow White creatures.
Yeah, it's so strange how I've just kind of picked up this reputation now. Like, oh yeah, that's Mike.
Well,
Let's
it's
go
Birdman.
follow him. Yeah, literally. And then I saw this eastern fox snake the other day that I was out on a trail. By the way, I've also learned never ask to identify animals on Reddit because you'll get 10,000 stupid responses and 3 good ones.
Well,
so
yeah,
that was amusing.
You're better off going to an old school actual like animal watching forum. Not
Yeah.
like because those guys, it's all guys in their 60s and 70s that have been doing this for 40 years, and they're actually willing to help.
Yeah, I did figure out what this like animal was eventually, but it was like, guys, really? Although my favorite response was, "What is that? Danger noodle?" Or "That's Pete, my like pet snake," and just all these other stupid responses.
Danger noodle. That's always good.
Nope rope is my favorite.
This may date us, but did you see the last week tonight?
No, I haven't seen it in the last 2 weeks.
What do they call it? Was it reverse snakes? I think it was. You'll when you watch it, you'll figure out what it's for. It's actually pretty good.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. But to go back to the story, like this has to be a restaurant because 40 rotisserie chickens, you're not cooking those in your oven because that's at least 4 hours a piece minimum.
That's a Costco cooking like 12 at a time sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is done on a fairly industrial scale. And I was like,
and that's also not how you like if you have usually they donate, but if it's past the date, you got to dispose of it. That gets thrown into like a food mulcher / compost creator.
Yeah, I was like,
they
why
don't
would you just
waste
compost this?
Like if they're legally not allowed to give it to the homeless or to a charity, then it usually gets ground up and turned into fertilizer.
Which is weird because like one of the things I've learned about working at a food bank, which I often do, is even if you want to give food to the homeless, you have to pass all these safety
Yep.
checks to do it. And if I worked at, say, a Starbucks, I can't just donate coffee. You might be saying, well,
Nope.
why not? Because it has to pass. Was this prepared in a commercial kitchen? Does this pass safe and health and safety? Blah blah blah.
That's why
So
when soup kitchens run locally and they're like sponsored by, here it used to be Schneider's, now they're no longer there. It's like Maple Leaf or Tim Hortons will offer it. Like it has to go through a division of that company. It's not just
yes,
like it's not like that store can sponsor it, but they have to get corporate to approve it, and then it has to be specifically not individual cups. It's got to be those like those
big container mugs things.
those catering ones that hold like 30 cups of coffee. It has to be, and it has to be one person prepare it, and they have to sign a signature that they're the only person that touched it.
Yep. I mean, I'm glad that there are safety things built in. Like I've watched a lot of Gordon Ramsay's To Hell and Back and Kitchen Nightmares, and you can see where problems can arise. So again, I hope whoever did this was just lazy and not malicious, because again, there is a risk, because I always read about this in the local newspapers, and this was a big problem in southern Ontario about 3 or 4 years ago. Some people would go around and they would poison pieces of chicken and meat and bacon. They would inject antifreeze into it, a dog or a cat. Yeah, like that.
Coyotes, to try to
Yeah,
curb coyote, which has become an issue here, but you're supposed to curb the coyotes in a humane way.
yeah, like don't be a monster. And
We've
it,
got them here, and I can only
mhm.
imagine how bad it is there. It could be they're trying to go after bears.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do it. I'm not saying dumping 40 rotisserie chickens in the woods
Well,
is the way to go about it, but
the
yeah, there
problem
are
is
ways to do it.
you don't want it to get poisoned, then a bear or something eats it, and then the bear gets sick and dies in the stream, and then the salmon eat it, and then it goes downstream, and it becomes everybody gets something
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah,
That's
like
that's why you don't do that.
yeah, like don't be a bad person. Like if you're going to dispose of waste, contact your local health department. There are ways. I'm sure there's at least one or two of you who work in the food service industry. Hell, there might even be listeners who own their own restaurants. You can do the right thing. If you do have food to donate, please contact your local health departments. Please contact your local charities. They will help you figure this out. And if you have to dispose of stuff that's past date, there are ways to safely do it. Please don't dump it in the woods. Do not appease the forest gods in this
No,
manner. We are
no.
fine.
If you're gonna do that, make sure you get approval from what is it, Fish and Game, or in the States that the it's
Environmental department, I guess,
Fish and
EPC or
Game,
whatever.
and here it would be the Environment Canada.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It would be your local environmental office. So our next story comes courtesy of foxnews.com, and woman obsessed with Legos builds 6-foot tall doghouse for her pets. Quote, several 100,000 Lego pieces. A woman who has loved buildable Legos ever since she was a little girl is taking her obsession to the next level by making dog houses. Loretta Quincy received her first box of Legos when she was just 7 years old, which has sparked her passion for collecting toys that are stackable. The 40-year-old told SWNS, the British news service, that she has several 100,000 pieces she's collected over the years and now stores in various cabinets in her home in Saskatchewan, Canada. The mom of 3 took her love to Legos up a notch recently when she decided to make a life-size doghouse for each of her dogs, Ozzy and Bailey. Quote, I've always wanted to build things my kids could go into, but then I started making them for my first dog, Ozzy, and he loved it. She said, the survey assistant told SWNS, it takes her about 3 weeks of working 3 to 4 hours a day to build a large doghouse, something she has now done at least 10 times over the years, she said. I don't use my dining room, so I took out the table, and that's become my Lego room, she said. The biggest doghouse she has built has stood just over 6 feet tall and was over 5.5 feet wide, big enough for her to stand in and lie down, according to SWNS. Quincy said she finds it relaxing to build structures much more than simply completing a board puzzle. I just could sit and build puzzles, but this is just so much more. She said, the mom said that after her 3 children, now ages 22, 19, and 15, stopped playing with their Legos over time, she would store them and add toy pieces to her own collection. When asked how many Legos she has, she estimates several 100,000, but joked she would love for someone to volunteer to come count them all. She added, the collection is still growing. I get 1 or 2 more boxes every Christmas. Looking at some of her designs, this is goddamn impressive. There's one she has, it looks like there's lights built into it, or it's like internally lit. Like,
Oh yeah.
this dog is lucky as shit. This is fantastic. Like, frigging wow, to do this. That's impressive stuff. And that's a good way to keep collectible toys out of landfills. Again, that is just astounding work. And I'd always wondered why people weren't kind of doing stuff like this, because occasionally you figure, well, what could you do? Because I used to watch the show Lego Masters on Fox, hosted by, I think it was Will Arnett, I think it was. And you'd see people do some creative things. Yeah, sure, it was fine. I mean, I used to build Lego too. I've built both of the Ghostbusters cars. I built the Ecto one from the 2016 and the 2000 and the original 1984 Ecto one, which unfortunately I got damaged in the move. Yeah, I could rebuild them, but I ain't got time for that.
Could you imagine if somebody tried to do a Lego version of what was the aircraft carrier from GI Joe?
Oh, the USS Flag. Yeah, or if you could build like a terror drone. I mean, honestly, some of the stuff that Lego comes out with is pretty impressive. I know there's a Lego
Scale version of Unicron, like compared to the other full size guys.
Yeah, if you could do a HasLab Unicron, like, because like that figure is ridiculously huge. If you could build a Lego version of that, which is reasonably possible, like I've seen even Lego that transforms. I know there's like a Creo Lego that does it. Some of the stuff that comes out of the Lego Creation Lab is really interesting. I know there's like a Nintendo one where I think the screen actually moves and does some stuff. Some of the Super Mario Lego that came out after the movie really injected some life into Lego. It's always really cool. And I know I was talking with Aaron about this maybe 2 years ago. I want to say there's an Apollo 11 lunar lander set for Lego that looks really neat, or something. I know we talked about a space set or something that looked really cool. But again, Lego stuff is fantastic. So Loretta, thank you so much. That looks really cool. And may you continue to build dog houses moving into the future. So our final story this week comes courtesy of CBS News. Woman bitten by Catholic priest during communion. Quote, he wouldn't give me the cookie. A Central Florida Catholic priest is charged with battery after a woman says he bit her during communion. She told police in St. Cloud that the scuffle began after he initially refused to give her the sacrament. Quote, he wouldn't give me the cookie. I don't know if it was the way I was dressed or if it was what I like, the woman said. A witness said, quote, he tried to forcefully shove it in her mouth. She backed up and she said, no, don't do that. She tried to get it, and that is when he went crazy. The priest tells a different story. He said the woman had come to a earlier mass but did not seem to understand how to receive communion, so he denied her the Eucharist. He says the conflict occurred when she returned for a later mass, and as she reached for an entire batch of communion wafers, I'm not judging you. I'm asking you, did you confess after Mass? If you did not confess, I cannot give you communion. I bit her. I am not denying that. I'm defending myself and the sacrament. The priest said
I bit her. I'm not denying it.
He said the priest said he reacted as he did to, quote, protect the sacrament. I am not a religious scholar by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm pretty sure the Bible says thou shalt not bite people.
I mean, maybe it's self-defense trying to get her off. Maybe he bit her hand to get her off of him or something. But
yeah, I mean, it's just such a wild thing to think about. But again, Alex, let's be real. This is Florida.
And at the same time, if you don't want to follow, the Catholic sacrament, just go to a Lutheran or some other church that does it, and where they don't have to place it on your tongue themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it done in movies.
You don't have to do it. Like if your thing is you don't want to confess and you don't want to be Catholic, there are other churches that do basically the same thing, but the only difference is, one, you don't have to confess anything, and two, they hand it to you and then you place it in your own mouth.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's wild, but sure. Um, I mean, again, it's always Florida every single time.
Yeah.
The world's
Yeah.
most insane state. I mean, ultimately, like you know what I would do, Alex? If I had unlimited money, I'm looking at you, Amazon and Netflix. I would just call it Florida the series and look back 25 years, find the craziest stories out of Florida and just find a way to make it like 1,000 Ways to Die, where there's just like 5 to 10 minute vignettes of weird stuff that happens in Florida. I saw the strangest video the other day.
But isn't that exactly what GTA 6 is going to be?
Oh my God, it's going to be so much fun. I hope
Because-
you get like a thing where it's called Florida Moments and you unlock money by doing strange things.
And I know that GTA Online is going to switch to that. If getting the base game gives you the main game, and then if you had to pay for GTA Online, but it meant every 2 to 3 months, let's say every other month, they added 2 or 3
Florida
stories,
story?
and they're based on like Law and Order. They're based on real things that happened in Florida.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
I would totally pay for it.
There is something I saw, and it was the most random thing ever on Twitter. I'm not going to say it's Florida, but I'm pretty sure it's Florida. So the train was post something random for good luck. Like, okay, sure. So I went into the thread and I saw a guy literally waltzing with an alligator in the water, and he's holding the alligator's claws like he's holding a dance partner. He's literally just dancing in the water with this alligator. And I'm thinking, that is the most Florida thing I have ever seen. Go get him, Florida, you
pretty
crazy diamond.
You go do you.
Yeah, exactly. You go do you. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the Weird News, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. And when we come back, Alex is going to tell you what to expect over the next little while here on the site. I'll give you a preview of what I'm working on, and we're kind of going to talk about some of the other stuff that will be coming up here on the show. So we'll be back, guys, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. One more review to go. Let's go there right now.
A couple of days ago, I received a box from our friends over at Asmodee Canada, and I was thinking, how do I cover these? Because it's 3 different titles, and I thought, am I going to do a full review on each? We might end up doing that down the line in the future, but as we have a lot of stacked coverage of a lot of the summer gaming stuff coming up, as of this particular recording, I thought I'd just give a sampling and my initial thoughts on these 3 packages or 3 titles that we received. They're of varying styles entirely, and I may as well just get straight into it. The first is a small boxed game called Monstrolicious. It is, for people ages 8+, takes about 10 minutes or so to play. I ended up playing it at home with some family, and it's a 2-player game. Now, what's interesting about it is similar to some other games we've played before, but different enough and interesting enough. If you're a fan of like Monsters Inc. and that sort of style of monsters, that's sort of the aesthetic they're going for here. It is a basic premises. You have monsters, and you quickly want to seize the best desserts that are available in play. It's basically a strategy game where you're determining when you're playing who has the more powerful hand, and then you, or monster in this case, and then you collect, and at the end you calculate everything that you've gotten. Whoever has the best wins, basically. It's a very simplistic game with really good art style. Something very interesting about it is it has a big note on the back that it's colorblind friendly. And that is something that a lot of the newer titles have been doing, that we've been covering, is they'll have a lot more accessibility options involved with them. So that's cool. And it's, again, a quick pick up and play game. You can learn almost immediately, and you can play a game easily within somewhere between 8 and 12 minutes. It says 10 minutes, depending on how fast you're going to play, or if your adults are playing it, or slightly older kids or slightly younger kids. It'll vary slightly from that. The next title here that I want to just give a brief preview for is another Star Wars title. Now, we've covered a few earlier in the year, and we're probably going to cover more as we go on, because they have the, a bunch of Star Wars games, some deck builders, some other stuff that we talked about. And I think we covered some miniatures late last year for around Christmas time. A lot of cool stuff coming from them. Now, this game in particular is Bounty Hunters. Big picture of Boba Fett in the front. And in this particular game, you are going to try to become the greatest bounty hunter that's ever lived in the galaxy far, far away. You basically chase different famous targets from the franchise across the galaxy. It's a fast-paced, what do they call, like a drafting card game, and you also have to be very strategic in how you play. You take risks as you go along that could foul up and you end up not winning. But the idea is everybody plays simultaneously, so it can be kind of frenetic. It is also a game that you need to have at least 2 players for, up to 6. It's recommended that you be age 10 plus, basically 4th grade or so, 4th or 5th grade of education for literacy. And that's only because it can be kind of hectic, and it's something that you have to be literate or have a little more complex deep thought for. That it's not as mindless as some little children's games would be. Not mindless, that's not the right word. I don't want to sound like that. It's something that's a little more complex to play. It'll be about 20-ish minutes, maybe a half hour, depending on how many people are playing with you. And it is family friendly. It is something you could all be playing competitively together. Great art. The cards are simple and straightforward. It is recommended that you purchase like protective sleeves for it. We've talked about that before. It says you'll need about 3 or 4 of them, depending on the company that makes the sleeves. It's recommending was it GameGenic? We've got a few protector sleeves for that. But what's cool about this is it's simple enough that pretty much any kid can get into. You can be a little younger than 10, but it is complex enough, and it's not so kiddie that Star Wars fans that are older than me, like my parents' generation, that were the original Star Wars fans, they can get into it just as easily and not have to learn too many complicated rules at their age of nearly 70. So it's something to check out. I'll make sure I put a link in the description for it, because I feel that might be one that people pick up and want to play over the course of the summertime, when it's out there and everybody's hot and they just want to sip iced tea and play a quick game of Bounty Hunters. And the final one here is something that I've never really played before, and that is the Ticket to Ride series. I know it's super popular. I just never. It was before I was playing board games again. Like, there was that period of time when I was a kid and I would play a lot of board games, and then as I grew up, I didn't really play a lot. But I had heard like Catan and Ticket to Ride were the big ones of the last, of my adulthood life that I remember everybody talking about. And this is Ticket to Ride Paris. Now, it's a self-contained game. You don't need to have played any of the ones in the past. Basically, it comes with everything you need. You don't have to have played anything, like I said. It comes with the board game, which is a board map of Paris and its transportation network. 60 plastic buses, 15 in each color, 45 transportation cards, 20 destination ticket cards, 4 scoring markers, 1 rule leaflet, 2 to 4 players, ages 8+. Says about 10-15 minutes of play. When I ended up playing it, because it was the first time playing, it took us about 20 minutes or so, but it's pretty fun. I can see why this is a big series. If you're a fan already of the Ticket to Ride series, it's a no-brainer. And as somebody myself who hadn't really played any in the past, I can easily jump in. It's easy to learn, very quick to play. There's not an overly hard learning curve to get into it at all. I am, pretty much a noob when it comes to this franchise, right? So I didn't have any issue jumping in, and I think it's a good point to jump into. Now I'm gonna have to go back. See, now I gotta go and and I'm gonna have to go back and get everything in the whole franchise, right? That's where they're gonna hook me? But yeah, it's something, and it's not a huge box. You could fit on pretty much any shelf. Again, recommended that it has protector sleeves and that you can totally get for it if you're into that sort of thing. but it's a self-contained game that you can easily pick up and play. 3 interesting titles sent to us, all 3 worth checking out. Absolutely. We might do a larger deep dive later on down the line, like I mentioned, but right now, as a simple, first look, first impressions, pretty impressed with all 3 of these from sent to us from Asmodee Canada.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that's the kind of show it has been here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Thank you for joining us, as you have for the last 17 years here on the show. So our June is going to look a little bit like it has before in previous years. We're going to be doing a lot of video game content, as it is now Summer Game Fest, E3, video game showcase, insert classy, funny name here, whatever. Alex is going to be leading that charge, as he often does here on the show, and then I will be participating with him. So what does that schedule look like, Alex?
Well, I've sort of got most of it down, set in stone now. The plan is every couple of showcases, some of them are spread out, some of them are on the same days, we'll be recording. I'm doing one of them this week by myself, which is going to cover the Sony one that just happened. There was the one for Marvelous that was last week, and then maybe there was a Tuesday one or something coming up. And then after that, Ken will be on each one with me the following morning. So basically, we're going to watch whatever happens at nighttime. He goes to his work or whatever, and then in the morning we record before, and I have it edited very quickly and out before the rest of the showcases of that particular day come out. So expect probably 4 or 5 episodes over a week or so from now. And then the plan is some point, not this week, some point maybe at the end of next week, we're going to get together to do the longer form prototype. These prototypes I'm talking about are going to be 20 to 30 minutes, small ones. And then we're going to have our discussion, sort of our midway through the year discussion, when you get a chance to catch up on everything. And we can do a 3-way round table and do a traditional prototype on it.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up. I know for me, I'm focusing a lot on role-playing game content right now as I prepare to launch my Patreon. Just to give you a preview on some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about over the next little bit in terms of reviews. I'm going to be talking about the Lord of the Rings 5e role-playing game. This is the one that's published by Free League Publishing. I'm going to be taking a look at Tales from Eredor. I'm also going to be looking at Ruins of Eredor. Alex sent me a board game I'm going to play with some of my friends. Hopefully in the next couple of days. We're going to be looking at the Pathfinder Elemental Stone. That's from our friends over at Paizo, so we'll be taking a look at that. I got stuff from Renegade Game Studios for My Little Pony. I got stuff for the next book from G.I. Joe. I've got the next Power Rangers book, Under the Helmet, which a lot of people have been looking forward to. I've got stuff for Fallout. I got stuff for Star Trek.
There's more Paizo stuff here for, like, we're sort of back into the fray, so it's not just for a while. It was mostly what D&D and Renegade, but it looks like we're getting a lot more books coming in now.
Yeah, and I know D&D just released Eye of Vecna. I did not get a review copy of that, but I know Infinite Staircase is going to be releasing in July. I got a lot more botched rolls planned. I do have one upcoming, which I'm going to be talking about conflict resolution. And this actually stems from an experience I have experienced, I'll say, somewhat recently, but names have been changed to protect the innocent, and I very much had to talk around it. But it did give me a lot of interesting perspective into how do you deal when problems do come at your table, because much like in life, not everything is always going to proceed smoothly from A to B. Difficult conversations can be had, but I do give you some advice and insight into that. Other than that, though, it's going to be a pretty busy little bit here. Like I was saying off the top of the show, if you happen to be at Niagara Falls Comic-Con, I will be there on Saturday. So if you happen to see me on the floor, please come up and say hi for a crisp high five. I'm looking forward to seeing some people. I myself have a photo op scheduled with Peter Weller, who is RoboCop. I'm looking forward to that. Going to get my Criterion collection or my RoboDoc sign that I got for Christmas from Ken last year. So looking forward to doing that. And that should be a fairly fun time. So once again, that is Niagara Falls Comic-Con this coming weekend in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. And then finally, I should be doing something locally for Free RPG Day. Watch my social medias for that. I was just given permission to share some of the material I got from Free RPG Day, so I will be showing that off again. Again, check social media at Birdman Dodd, and we'll have some cool stuff there. So that's all I've got. And then I'll be doing some stuff with JT in the next little bit. Going to try getting Ken on some stuff. I'm going to work on some stuff with David Denoyer. I know he's working with Enrique to shoot a movie right now. I think they're finished principal photography pretty soon. If not, we will make sure to get those done over the summer. And I know me, Alex, Enrique, and James Rolfe have just been talking to plan our Halloween show. It seems like that'll be recorded this summer for release during the spooky seasons.
Yep.
So anyway, that's all I've got. Alex, we got anything else? I don't think so,
me,
right?
it's mostly just all the prototype coverage this week. I mean, I can list off the showcases, but off the top of my head, there's one, was it OTK or OKT, whatever it is, indie showcase. That's this coming Tuesday. Then there's the Guerrilla Collective, which is Thursday. Friday is the this is the one that you'll probably be interested in. It's the accessibility one, run by disabled gamers, games that are programmed by disabled gamers for disabled people. You know, it showcases stuff in the industry that's very accessibility focused. So that's early in the morning, and then in the afternoon is the Summer Games Fest, like the main show, followed by the Devolver Digital one. Then Saturday is Future Games show, not to be confused with the Future of Gaming, which is another one. There is the Black developers. I can't remember the exact name, but it's specifically Black something, Black names or Black people of color in whatever. Getting that wrong. There's the Women in Gaming one. There is the whole Direct, which usually has really cool like chill games if you want to. That's kind of the stuff where, like, remember what was that game you played where you like would write notes to people?
Oh, Kind Words. Yeah, that should have a sequel coming up, I think this year.
It's those kind of games that get put in there, or Unpacking, or A Little to the Left, that sort of stuff. So those are always good. I don't think there's a VR one this year. I have to double check. It's the one thing I couldn't find on the schedule. And then Sunday is the Microsoft PC gaming, and then Monday is Ubisoft, and we don't know about Nintendo yet, but there's going to be coverage through all of that. And you know, before we know it, there's going to be plenty. I've also got mail stuff here, which I was going to open on air, but we'll keep it a surprise. Maybe you can check on our social media. I'll post some of the pictures that we got, but there's a couple packages. One of them looks to be a press package of some sort, and I think I know what it is. I think it's from that new company, Celluloid Dreams, which we talked about in January. I think they're starting up a boutique release company for international pictures. So we'll see what's coming. Pretty sure that's one of them, and I'll show that. And that's pretty much it, man. I think I've cleared the slate of most of the games I have to review, because I know it's going to be a busy couple of weeks here with me covering stuff.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff, guys. So make sure you keep it locked here to ThisWeekInGeek.net. So for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying be excellent to each other. We'll see you guys around the podcast RSS feed real soon, guys. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.